Hi everybody. Happy 4th of July. Today is the 4th of July. This may not air until tomorrow, but happy 4th of July anyway. And we're going to be making these little starfish bracelets today with the newest treasure bags, the lemon, lime, and mint, and the roses and lavender. This is what the roses and lavender looks like. I'll take it off in a second, but I wanted you to see what they look like on the wrist. They're really cute. We have some little dangles back here with one of the star charms, the starfish charms, and this is of course the green version, and this is the pink version. And see if I can actually take this off fairly quickly. I don't know if I can. I'll lay it out and we can get started. Now at this point there are still a couple of the mint treasure bags left. They're trickling out pretty quickly, but when this airs I'm not sure if there will still be some, but you can go check and see and get yourself a treasure bag if you want one. If you don't, well then you don't, but this is what we're making and I think they are just really cute. Let me get them more centered here and zoom you in a little bit so you can see. This is a very simple process. It's a little time consuming, but it's very beginner friendly, and I hope you try it. Let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this particular project. Okay, for this project today, we're going to make the pink bracelet. So we're going to be using the roses and lavender bag during the tutorial. I have made my design with the mint bag, so the lemon, lime, and mint, and you can see it turned out really cute. And I'm going to show you what I used to make this one, what colors and what beads, and then I'll also show you what we're going to use for the roses and lavender bag. So let me straighten things out here, and you are going to need for this project some soft flex fine. I recommend fine simply because we are going to do some fringing through this and you don't want your beading wire to fill up your beads, so you want some soft flex fine, and we'll use about 10 inches of it. Then we are going to be using some seed beads. So I'm showing you the stuff we're going to add to the bag first. Now, for my green bracelet, I did the base with these green beads. I also did a few fringes with them. So these are 8-0 seed beads. They're Toho, and I think they're forest green or something like that. But you can use any 8-0 seed beads you want. You can make a metallic base if you'd like with metallic colors, whatever you'd like. But I used this dark green color. And then I used some beige 8-0s for some of my fringing. For this one, I'm going to use this Ceylon Frosted Pink 8-0 for my base. And for my little accents in here, in the green, I used beige 8-0s, and in the pink one, I'm going to use white 8-0s. These are all Tohos. Then for my fringing stitch, I'm going to use a 15-0 seed bead, and just to bring in the colors of my clasping and stuff, I'm going to use a nickel. So this is the nickel Toho 15-0. So you're going to need a base color 8-0, an accent color 8-0, and a 15-0 for your bracelet. Then for the beads I used, from the roses and lavender bag, I used this strand of 6x5 rondelles, or this is what I'm going to use for the roses and lavender, the 8x5 color mix here. Or no, these are 6x5, sorry, not 8x5, 6x5. And then for the green bag, I used this strand. So in your lemon, lime, and mint bag, you have this color mix, and that's the one I used. And then also for some of these tiny little fringe ears, I've put in some 3x2 rondelles to go with my 8-0 seed beads for the smaller little fringes. So in the mint, you have this blue turquoise. So in the mint bag, you'll use that. And in the roses and lavender, you have this pink strand. We'll be using that. In your treasure bags, you have 3 Starfish handmade porcelain beads. And they have this little glaze on them. Some of them are more glazed than others. You're going to use those 3 beads, whether it's green or pink. We're also going to be using 2 wire guardians. These are small wire guardians. We're going to be using 2 of them. 2 size 2 beading, or 2 size 2 crimp tubes. Sorry about that. And these are Beading, and I'm going to put my little accent on my end here, and I'm going to use one of the Starfish beads from the bag. You have 2 of them in both bags, so we'll be using one of those. We'll be using one of the spring ring clasps from the bags, and we'll be using it in the platinum tone. You'll need 2 8mm jump rings and 3 6mm jump rings. You're going to need 2 head pins. So I have these short little ball head pins. It doesn't matter what ball head pins you use, or what head pins you use whatever you want. I'm just using these for these little dangles on the end here. You don't even have to put the dangles on if you don't want to. We're also going to be using some 6-pound Fireline, and we are going to use a size 12 beading needle because we are going to be fringing through this bracelet. So 6-pound Fireline works good. If you have nanofill left, you can use an 8 or 10-pound nanofill. That's fine too, though that's getting very difficult to find. So 6-pound Fireline works well. You're going to put onto your beading needle about 3 to 4 feet. You don't want it to be horribly long. You're going to need to extend during this process, and I'll post a video in the description box beneath the video player. I'll post a link so that you can learn how to do that if you do not know how. But you don't want to start with a huge amount of thread because it's just going to be frustrating. But you're going to need quite a bit. So with this one, I extended twice, and I used probably about maybe 2.5, 3 feet at a time. So that kind of gives you a guide. So go ahead and gather your things together, thread your beading needle, and we will get started. Okay, so first, I want to apologize for my manicure. I have not had time to get in and get it done. I've been getting treasure bags out, doing all kinds of stuff. So I apologize. They look terrible. I know. I'm sorry. I will make sure you don't have to look at them, and I'll get them done tomorrow, so you don't have to look at them again. But today you have to look at them. So sorry. Anyway, let's get started on this project. Now, I did post some of these little Starfish beads, what I had left over from the treasure bags today on the website, but generally these type of things don't last very long, so go check it out if you want some and see if they're still there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our soft flex fine beading wire, and I have cut about 10 inches. I'm going to make a 7-inch bracelet, though because of the mass of this bracelet, it ends up to fit like a 6-inch bracelet. So you're going to make your regular length, and then we're going to put an extender on this to make up the extra. So mine will be 7 inches. You will adjust by the beads we put on in the very beginning. But first we have to set this up. So grab your soft flex beading wire. It's the fine, and then you're going to pick up a wire guardian onto one end like this. Let me get you in a little closer. It's kind of dark. It's late at night, and I am doing this, so I apologize. Let me adjust the lights. Oops, nope. Yes. Okay, so we are going to bring the beading wire through one end of the wire guardian, and then we are going to go through the other end with it, like this. And we're just going to draw about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch through, and then pull on the longer length of wire and draw that down. Now we are going to pick up our clasp, and we're going to put the loop onto the wire guardian by putting it on the short end of the beading wire and then up through the clasp. And just to kind of hold it there a little bit better, I'm just going to squeeze my Guardian just a little bit closed so it stays there nice for me. And then I'm going to grab a size 2 crimp tube and I'm going to put it on the long length of wire and just draw it down to my short length here and put it in also, just like this. Then I'm going to push it up to my wire Guardian, making sure there's no slack up here. Everything is nice and tight. And then I'm going to grab my crimping tool, which I don't seem to have. So I don't know why I put that away, but sometimes I do things like that. Okay, so now we are going to use the second divot, the one closest to the handle. We're going to center that crimp tube right in there. Make sure the wire Guardian's laying kind of flat. That way you know you're positioned correctly. And then just squeeze. And then once you have done that, you have a little fold right in the middle of that tube. And you are going to then place your crimping tool on that tube sideways now. So in the first divot closest to the tip of the handles, you're going to make sure those two little tubes you formed are touching the crimping tool, and then you're going to squeeze again. That draws those two little tubes together and you have a perfect little crimp, just like this. Then we're just going to separate the two wires and get our flush cutters, which I also don't have out. Jeez Louise, Gina. And I am going to just place the flush cutters very close to the crimp bead and cut off that shorter length of wire there. Now we are going to bead our little strand that we've just made here. So one side is prepared, and what we're going to do is I used the dark green on the green one for this, and I'm going to use the pink on this one. So I am going to pick up 15 8/0 seed beads onto my wire. So I have 5, didn't count like a dummy, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a 15. And then I'm just going to push them down. I'm going to count them again just to make sure. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15. Okay, I just do that to make sure that both sides are the same. So once you've put those on your wire, then you're going to grab one of your Starfish. And let's see, I have 2 kind of plain ones and one with glaze, so I'll put the glaze in the middle. I didn't pay attention last time. I should have done that. Well, maybe I did. I did put the one with glaze in the middle. Never mind, don't listen to me. Okay, so from the point side, I am going to draw that down. So the hole is drilled through the point and then through the middle of the 2 points here. So I'm drawing it down that way, and then I am going to pick up 7 beads, 8/0s. So 2, 4, come here, there's 3, 6, I had 8, no, 7 beads like this. And again, this amount of beads I'm putting on here is going to make 7 inches, including my clasping. From here to the end of my beading will be about 7 inches, and putting on my wire Guardian. So if you want a smaller necklace or bracelet, excuse me, you're going to use a few less beads to start with, and then you can even use a few less in the middle here. So you're going to have to lay it out decide, okay, I think I need, instead of 15, I'm going to put 10 beads on. Instead of 7, I'm going to put 5 on. Then beat it all up like I'm going to show you and measure it. You want it to be your normal size after you put on your wire guardian on this end. And then you can put on an extender because the fullness of it's going to make it short. So what we've done is 15 beads, 7 beads. So 15 starfish, 7. Now we're going to put on another starfish. And I'm going to again go from the point side to the wide side, or maybe, yeah, that's fine. How did I do it last time? I think that's fine. And then I will pick up 7 more of my 8-0 seed beads. Okay, and that this time is 7. All right, and then I will again pick up my, and I wanted to put the starfish with the glaze in the middle. So, sorry guys. Okay, I fixed it. So 7, and then I'm going to put this one on this way. So just arrange them how they look good to you. It doesn't really matter how you string them on there. I just kind of did it like that. And then I'm going to pick up 15 more 8-0s. Again, adjust the number that works for you. That's 5. 10, 15. Okay, so this is what I have now, just like that. Now we are going to clasp this end. So we're going to grab our size 2 crimp tube, we're going to put it on, and then we're going to grab our wire guardian, and we're going to go through one side of the wire guardian, draw it down, go through the other side, and then go through the crimp tube too. And just go through the crimp tube, don't go through your 8-0s. Just like this. Get you in closer. And then draw this extra part down. And then back off your crimp tube just a little bit because you want about 1 millimeter of space so that your beads can just move around just a little bit while you're sewing through them. You need a little bit of space. So what I have, if I pull it tight, is about 1 millimeter, maybe 2 of space here, like this. And then I'm going to pull my wires so that it lies parallel in there with the wire it's laying against. And then I'm going to grab my beading needle. And I have my thread on it. And I'm going to go just through the crimp tube with my beading needle. Hold on to all of this. And then I'm going to pull my needle until I pull my thread all the way through, leaving about 1 inch or 2 hanging out. Got about 1 inch probably. Then I'm going to grab my crimping tool and I'm going to place it on that crimp tube in the second divot and do my first squeeze. And then I'm going to turn it to the side, go into the first divot and give it the second squeeze. And now I have my thread anchored in there on my beading wire, and I can move it aside and cut this extra length of beading wire off. So I'll get my flush cutters and I'll cut this extra piece off. And then I'm going to cut down this extra piece here also. So the short end of my beading thread, I am going to cut just a little bit shorter, make it about a half an inch and or a quarter inch, something like that. And then I'm going to grab my lighter and I'm just going to burn this down into a blob and let it blob right here. You can't even hardly see it, but it's going to blob right here down between the wire guardian and the crimp tube. And now that creates another little knot. You've got your beading thread anchored well enough. Once we start fringing through, that's going to anchor it and secure it further. But at least this way, you have a start without having to tie a knot onto your beading wire. Then we're going to begin fringing. So I am going to grab my 15-0 seed beads and 2 colors of 8-0s, my 3x4 rondelles, and my 8x5 rondelles, and we'll get started. Okay, so now we are set and ready to begin fringing. So what I'm going to do is make sure my thread is coming out of the first seed bead instead of between the crimp tube and the seed bead. I'm just going to go down into this first seed bead. And I'm going to begin fringing. I'm going to fringe about a half an inch of just 8-0 seed beads and narrow this down, and then I will start to incorporate some of the bigger beads. So generally the way you would do this is you would fringe one complete fringe and then turn around and do another, and then turn around and do another to get it as full as I'm getting it. But I have learned that you don't have to do that. You can go up and down as long as you stay between the beads. You can fringe several layers at once. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to begin. I'm going to pick up a white 8-0 seed bead and then a 15-0 seed bead. And I'm going to drop it down to my piece. And then I'm just going to go back into the 8-0, ignoring the 15-0, and then I'm going to go down into the bead next to the one I'm coming out of. So I'm always working between the two beads. And I'm going to bring this down, or I'm going to pull the thread through actually, until I can anchor that nice and tight against the base beads. Now I did this method a couple times before, and I had someone tell me on one of them that it was really thready. It will not be thready if you pull your beads all the way down to the base, pull all the slack out of your thread, and watch your thread as you get more fringing that it doesn't get tangled. You will not see the thread. So now I'm coming out of this bead here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down a 3x2 and a 15-0 seed bead. And then I'm going to go back into the 3x2, and then I'm just going to go back up. Instead of going down into the next 8-0 seed bead, I'm going to go back up so that I can put in a little bit more thickness around this area. So normally you just put one all the way down, but instead of going down, once you anchor a bead, you can go up or down. You can travel through a few beads, it doesn't matter. As long as when you're traveling, you're staying inside the 8-0s, and you have already anchored something for your thread. So you've already put on a bead. You can go either up or down. So now I'm going to pick up a pink 8-0, and I am going to drop this down, and I can put it up here between the two I already did. I'm going to go down into the 8-0 beneath the one I'm just going down instead of up into this bead. I'm going down. As long as you're anchoring something, you can go either direction. Now I want to turn this a little bit. I'm coming out of this bead right here. I'm going to pick up another, and I think I'm going to just go ahead and use another white one and drop it down. and then I'm going to go back into the bead that I'm coming out of. So I'm going to go up again, and I will come out between the very first bead and the bead where my thread's coming out. So I can put something here. I can see that I have a space there, so I will just put something there, and I'm going to pick up a 3x2. And then I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and drop that 15-0 down, go around my bead, and this time I'm going to go down because I don't want to go up towards my clasping. So I'm going to go down. I'm pushing my needle through so that I come out on the other side. And you can see here I don't have much going on, so I think I'll pick up a white one and a 15-0 and just randomly pick up your colors, kind of spread them through a little evenly, the best you can, but we're only working with 3 colors here. So now I'm going to go down into the next one. So like I said, you can sew through any direction you want. As long as you're already anchored and you're sewing through the core beads, you're going to be fine. So I'm coming out here. I'm going to pick up, I think, a pink one, and I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and drop this down. And I think I'll go back up and put one here. So you can make this as thick and full as you would like, or you can make it as sparse as you would like. You could move away from it. You don't have to fill it up as full as I'm filling it up. It's all a personal choice. So these I'm just going to kind of move back. I'm going to pick up a 3x2, drop it down, and then I'll go back through the bead, and then I'm going to go back down into the next one. Now I can just pull this all together and kind of squish it out. That looks pretty good for that top section, so I'll start working my way down a little bit, and I'll go down a couple of beads, decorate all the way around, and then go down a couple more, moving my way up and down through the beads, keeping my thread hidden, but filling up the area as well as I can because, like I said, I want this to be nice and full. So now I'm going to go down into the bead next to the one I'm coming out of here. Just work between the beads, anchor, and then, like I said, you can go up or down. I could go back in. Well, here I need to put one here, and then I could go back up or down. You'll see as you're making your fringes where you need to be and what you need to do to stay within those core beads. But this, I find, is just easier than, or it's less time consuming than going all the way through the entire length of the bracelet and then coming all the way back through the entire length of the bracelet. So I'm going down one, I'm going to pull this through, and then I'm going to put another bead here, and maybe I'll use a white one. A lot of pink right there, so we'll use white. I'm going to anchor this one here. And I think, see, I'm coming out of this one right here. I think I'm going to go back in and come up here. So I'm going up and set it down. And I will place another fringe right here. Now I'm going to continue doing this until I have a nice full, what I think looks good, about ½ inch, and then I'll come back and we will start to incorporate some of the bigger beads in towards the starfish here. Okay, so now you can see I've done about a ½ inch of my little 8/0 seed bead fringing on the end here to make it a little bit more narrow towards the back of the bracelet. Now I'm coming out of this seed bead right here. So after putting my fringing on, I just move down to here with my needle, and I am just move through your 8/0 seed beads, and I'm going to pick up one of my beads from my 8 or 6x5 rondelles here, and I'm just going to anchor it on. I'm going to use all the colors and just kind of spread them out. So you can see I'm coming out of the seed bead here. I want to move down. So you go back in between the beads. So I'm coming out of this one. If I wanted to move up, I would go back into the one I'm coming out of. If I want to move down, I go into the one next to the one I'm coming out of. And just pull all this down and anchor it really well. Make sure your thread goes all the way through, that bead is touching your core beads here. And then I have this big one on, so now I'll put a couple of little ones. So I will pick up, I think I'm going to pick up a white bead, a white 8/0, and drop it down. And I'm going to go back up into the bead. So I'm coming out between these two beads here. Instead of coming down into this next bead and moving down my bracelet, I'm going to go back up so that I can put another bigger bead on towards this side here and fill up this space. So I think I'm going to use this bluish color here, and I'm going to drop it down and then pick up a 15/0. And I'm going to go down now. So I'll be going into this bead here. Here, let me get you close. Let me rearrange because I'm going to move out of camera doing where it's positioned. Darn it, come here. All right, let's bring it down towards me. There we go. So I'm coming down and I'm going to pull this down. Now again, you can make this as full or as sparse as you would like. You can see I have some thread here. I have to make sure I pull that thread through, and I have to make sure that it doesn't attach to any of my fringes. So move those out of the way, pull it all the way down in. Otherwise you will have a thready mess, but there's no reason to. Just do this. Make sure that you follow where your thread is going as you do it. So now I am coming out here, and I can just turn it a little bit, and I'm going to pick up a pink 8/0 seed bead, and then maybe I'll put another bigger bead here or something. But you're just going to fill in the spaces with your small beads. Place a big bead wherever you want to. Just kind of look at it and see what you think needs to be done. So I'm going to move back up here. And my cat is meowing. She lost me. Dixie, come here. Sorry guys, I had to yell. But if I don't yell at her, she will meow, and she brings a little toy while she's meowing because she's scared. So I think I'll pop another one right here. And again, you could just put a bunch of little ones and make this not quite as bulky. So I'm coming through here. I'm going to go down 2 this time. And I'm just going to continue working my piece. You can kind of move your beads around as you're doing it. So, I'm sorry guys. So I'm just going to keep working my beads around and pushing them around as I do this and see what I want to put next. I think here I'll probably put a couple more little 8/0s, and then I can move down and put another big bead, and I'm just going to fill this in however it looks good. To this point, that's pretty full. So I'm going to work my way down a little bit, work around it, then work down a little bit more. When we get to the starfish, I will come back and show you how we'll travel through that and begin our next section. Okay, so I have fringed And I think it looks pretty full, and I think it looks good. And I can move these around to make sure they're not all the big ones in the same spot and all the small ones in the same spot after I travel through my starfish here. But I've got my last little bead. I think I want to put one right here. So I'm going around the 15-0, going back into the bead I'm coming out of and down into the starfish. Now you could go on the inside of this bead here. You could go just through that one bead and put something here, but I don't think it's going to need it. So I'm going to travel through my starfish and I'm going to pull this down. And now I can just kind of puff everything up, make sure I like the way it looks. Because if you decide later you don't like it, you could work your way down through a couple of these, anchor yourself, and work back up if you wanted to. So just get it the way you want it so you don't have to do that. But you can, as long as you're traveling through these beads, and as long as you're anchored to a bead already, and you go back into the little space between the beads that you're coming out of with your thread, you can move either direction. So now I'm coming out of the starfish. I generally like to start in this first bead here, but it's kind of hard to get through there. So I'm going to push my starfish down. I'm going to go ahead and put on a little bead. I think I'll put on a little 3x2 here. Drop this down, and then I'm going to go into this 3x2 and down into this bead here, and I'm just going to start fringing again. So I can put another one here, and after I'm coming out of this bead here, I can work my way back up, put a couple more small ones. You can come right out between the starfish, or you can just leave this one here and work in this little area, which is probably what I'm going to do. I don't want too many pushing my starfish around, but I did want one to kind of close the gap. So you can do your fringing however you would like. Continue working through this area and then travel through your starfish, work through this area, and do mostly, you know, don't do all just small beads here, do big ones too. So I'm going to show you what this one looks like so you can see what I mean. The only place we're doing just the small beads are at the very end of the... Of course, if you like that look and you want to, go ahead. It's up to you, but I generally I've worked into my big beads and then I just stay in my big beads until I get about a ½ an inch towards the end, and then I begin putting my small beads in again. It's a repetitious thing. Just continue fringing and work through your beads. And I didn't even really get enough space in this one. After I crimped it, I noticed I pulled my space out. I'll still be able to work through it, but leaving a little bit of space so that your beads are easier to travel through is always good. But these I can get through. I'll be fine. So anyway, I'm going to continue doing all my fringing until I get to this point here. Come back, we'll reduce down, and then we'll do our ends. There's no reason for you to watch me do the entire fringing. It's the same process. There's no right, there's no wrong. Pick what you want, put it where you want, and move on. And we'll be back. Okay, so I have worked my way all the way around, and I just compare the sides to see how long I made this little portion. So now I will just start doing the small bead portion here. And when I get to the end and I'm ready to tie off, I'll come back, show you how to do that, and then we'll finish the clasping. Okay, so I've finished my ½ inch here of my smaller beads, and I worked my way all the way up out of this last bead right next to the crimp tube, and I've put another bead on just so I can move myself down a little bit and tie a knot. So I'm going to go ahead and do this last fringing, and I'm going to come out wherever my needle wants to come out because it's a little bit tight. So I've gone down through 2 beads. I'm coming out right next to this particular fringe. Whatever fringe you're coming out of, you're going to go into again. Make sure your thread goes only into that fringe, and then go through the 8/0 and go through the 15/0, and then go back down into your fringe. And then we're going to travel up another one and do the same thing. And this is basically tying our knot, just intertwining it in here really well. It's intertwined through so many fringe, it is highly unlikely that it's going to come undone. So I'm going into this bead again. And I'm coming out here so I can go up into this one. And hard to get past that 15. Oh, it's holding in there very tightly. So I'm just going to come up through this. And then I am going to cut my thread with a little bit of a tail here, and it's sticking up through this bead here. Then I'm going to take my lighter and I'm just going to bring that melted in to that 15/0, and that should secure everything just fine. If you find another way you want to knot it that you think is better than what I'm doing, great, go for it. But as I said, it's so intertwined, it's going to work out fine. Then you're just going to kind of scoot your beads around, make sure they look the way you want them. And we're going to put some clasping on the end here. So what I've done to get some length is I have 2 8mm jump rings, and I'm going to hook them together first onto my wire guardian. I'm just going to look at my last one and see what I did. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the jump ring. Let me back off a little bit here. And I'm going to open this jump ring, put it on the wire guardian, and close it. Then I'm going to put on another 8mm jump ring. This is just to give me some length, and I'm going to be clasping mine up in these 2 larger ones, but I'm going to connect some smaller ones too to put my dangle on, and just make sure that if you're selling or if you're making for someone else, either whether they're large or small, it will fit. So I'm putting on these 2 8mm, and then I'm going to put on 3 6mm. And you can do this any way you want. You could put on just one if you've made yours fit well, whatever you want to do. This is also kind of a decorative addition here. So I have put on 1 6mm, and I'm going to put on this one. And then one more. And then I'm going to make a couple little dangles real quick that I can open this jump ring and put on. I'm trying to figure out where I put my, yeah, I see what I did. Okay, so now I have this end ready for a couple of little baubles. So I'm going to choose a bauble. I think I want to use one of these pink ones. So I'm grabbing my little head pin. This is a pretty thin little head pin, and it's cut about 1 inch long. I am going to grab my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to twirl this in. So just grab the end and make a little hook, and then just start twirling this around until you get all the way down to your bead. Tighten it, make sure you crimp in that very start end of your wire, and you have one. And I'll make one more. I think I'm going to use this bluey color here. And also I want to say, when I was doing this, some of these beads have really big holes, so you have to kind of choose, because your 15/0 will slide through them. And if that happens, you're just going to have to choose a different bead or use an 11-0 that matches your 15-0s on that particular bead, but your consistency isn't going to be exactly the same if you do that. Okay, so I have my 2 little baubles made. I'm going to open this jump ring and drop them on. And then I'm going to grab a 4mm jump ring. I guess I forgot to tell you about that, but we're going to put a 4 or 3mm jump ring on our little charm, the little starfish charm, and I'm just going to open this jump ring and I will put it on the starfish. And then on this second, so we've got our little drops on this very end one. On the second one, we're going to put the starfish. I'm going to try to position it to where he will be face out. And then I will use my pliers and shut this. If I can grab a hold of it, geez Louise. There we go. And I will shut this one. Not a very good jump ring. There we go. All right. Now, my dears, let me lay this out and I'll show you the other one too. I can put this like this. I'll show you the other one, then I'll go off camera. I'll put one on and show you that. And we'll call it good. So there's that one. Move all my stuff out of the way. And get this centered. Let's do this one. And there you have it. I think they turned out really cute. It kept coming to me that these look like barnacles, and that's with the starfish and stuff. And my son and I were teasing about that. We were going to call the bracelet Beautiful Barnacle Bracelet or something like that. But you can't make barnacles sound pretty. I don't care how hard you try. So probably won't name it Beautiful Barnacles. But that's just what kept coming to me when I was doing this. So I am going to go ahead and put one of these on, and I'll be back and show you what it looks like on my wrist. Okay, so I put them both on, and this one turned out a little bit smaller than my original, even though I did exactly the same count of beads. It could be that my green seed beads are a little bit bigger, could be that I did this one a little tighter and fuller, I don't know, but you can see I only have to attach it on the second 8mm here, and I had to attach it on the first 6mm on this one. And either way, it doesn't really matter. As long as you can get it closed, you can make yours a little longer, you can make it a little shorter than I did on the main body of the thing, of the bracelet itself. Or you can adjust it any way that you see fit as far as the jump rings go or whatever. But this is what it looks like on. It's really cute. It's just adorable. And this one is really, really cute too. So anyway, that's what we've made with the treasure bags today. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I think by the time this airs, I may still have a few of this color scheming left in the treasure bags. They're trickling out, they're going, but it depends on when this airs, but I would come check if you want a treasure bag. There might be a few left. Okie dokie, bye-bye.